For more, let's bring in Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thank y'all for having me.
So thinking about this final mission, which is exciting for parents who finally want more say in their kids' education, and I think for anyone who understands the common sense idea that local control is what education ought to be about, can you sketch out for us how this happens? How much can Linda McMahon do? And then do you have the votes in the Congress to make it really a final mission and send it back to the states?
Well, I have a degree in education. I was certified to teach K through 12, and both my parents were career educators. So I have a background that's steeped in public education. And the problem you have is a federal government that's too big. They put about 10% of the money into most states on average, a little more, a little less. But they have such tight reins that controls everything, the agendas and the over-testing and all this nonsense that goes on. So the president, it's an ideal situation. Send it to the states, let the states, our local legislators, our local school boards, even our local PTAs would have more involvement. And then you see the teachers union fight it. And in reality, the teachers could receive a lot more money in payment, but that's not what the unions are about. They're about control. They don't care about test scores. You know, Jimmy Carter made it everybody says Jimmy Carter created the Department of Education. Well, he made it a cabinet level position. It was actually created in the 1800s. But at the time he did that, we were number one in the world. Now, trillions of dollars later, we're 22 to 27. Yeah. So, and do I think Congress has the guts to do it? No, I don't. I do not. I think they'll talk a big game. They'll go home and beat their chests. And then when it comes down to making the true cuts, they will not have the guts to do it.
But you touched on something that I think, Congressman, is really important, and that's control. When you're at a federal level, the federal government has control, and that is where the ideology and the agenda comes in. I mean, they're basically training children in this country to be little communists, and that's why they don't want to send it to the states, even though economically, and when you see it sort of on a spreadsheet and how the numbers look, it makes complete sense for the states to have control. But you start giving this to the states, and you start giving health care or something else to the states, and all of a sudden, the whole game changes.
Yeah, the power shifts back to the people, and that's the way the founders made it. You know, you have transportation, you have health care, you have education, and all those things they try to control them from the federal government, and they've all been a disaster. And that's what you let the market decide, let the locals decide, and that's where we'll see true engagement, I think, at the local level. And that's why there's not one bureaucrat in Washington, D.C., man, that's taught a kid how to read, write, or do arithmetic in the state of Tennessee. That's a fact. They're worse than the mob. The Lord just takes 10% off the top for tithe, and they are taking considerably more with all their values and left-wing ideology that they're forcing down on the locals.
But, Congressman, you don't think your colleagues, even with this manifest failure of the education department and all of that money, scores showing that federal control has been a disaster for children, you don't think the votes are there? And I'm wondering if the votes not being there to kill the education department is related to the other phenomenon you're seeing, which is your colleagues don't dig Doge.
Yeah.
No, they don't have the guts to do it. They talk real big. They'll go home, and at their MAGA dinners or Reagan Day, or here in Knoxville, we have a Lincoln Day dinner, and they'll beat their chests and talk real tough at the red meat stuff. And then they'll come back to Washington and sell us down the river. We're one flu season away from losing the majority. Speaker Johnson has a really tough job in that fact. But I wish that the public would become more engaged. You know, clearly right now we don't have really a clear avenue to pass the good work that President Trump and Elon Musk have done. I think one thing you have to remember is Congress, we got about a 3-person majority, and we're all puffed up. President Trump had a real majority, but he ran on the tough issues that he's doing right now. And Congress skirted those issues, and that's why they're at a 3-person majority. If we'd stick with the tough folks, the tough votes, the tough calls, and we honored the wishes of what our president's trying to do, who's sacrificing a great deal for, as well as Elon Musk. But you're not going to see that from Congress, I'm afraid. I hope the people light the phone lines up and hold us accountable.
That's unfortunate. You want to see Republicans stick together and use that slim margin to be able to pass legislation. But meantime, Congressman, while we have you, you called out the NPR boss for her past tweets about President Trump. And here's the exchange. Watch this.
Let me ask you, why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today. They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that I believe that the president had said rather than who he is. I don't presume that anyone is a racist.
Now that federal funding is in question, she's regretful and she seems to be sorry and she wouldn't do it again. Do you believe her? Because a lot of people did not.
No, ma'am, she's a liar. I wouldn't trust her for anything. She's an arrogant, overeducated person who looks down upon folks like myself. And it showed throughout that whole hearing. And every answer was just that. It was always somebody else. I mean, I asked her about why did they call Lee Greenwood singing God Bless the USA? Why did they identify that as propaganda, which I heard with my own ears say that. And they had, well, that wasn't our opinion. That was one of our hosts, or that was one. It's always something else.
Right.
And look, and they need to be cut off. It's not a First Amendment issue, ma'am. They can say whatever the heck they want to, but the American taxpayer should not have to funnel any money to them. And our chair lady, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has legislation filed as well as I do. They need to be defunded. We need to follow the wishes of our president and the American public and quit listening to a few liberal cronies back home who are never going to be for us anyway.
And by the way,
this university,
to your point, they won't go out of business. They have donations, they've got corporate sponsorships, they sell memberships, they have all different ways of raising money. They should not be taking from the federal coffers. Congressman Tim Burchett, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much and keep it up.
Okay.